I'm very thankful to be in Sarawak today. This is actually my first time here, and I think I've seen the beauty of Sarawak, having a little glimpse of it today, seeing the TSG green trees today. I must, I must say that I think the plan for this new phrase, GSE, would definitely gain momentum in Sarawak and in developing countries. First, I'd like to apologize for my voice. I've actually just lost my voice a few days ago, and I recovered enough to have some volume in my voice today. So please forgive me if I do sound like hoarse. So today, I'm actually here to discuss with everyone something that have been troubling me for some time, and which is how to build a successful change movement for sustainability that not just how to start, how to sustain, and how to keep it going, and maybe when does it end. So I think that it is something that all of us might be wondering, what is a change movement, or really, are we really going to hold up some kind of a picket fence and start protesting, or something like that? So this is probably a very familiar sight that we have seen it in many news. In fact, how many of you have seen something similar of these protests around? Or is this your first time seeing such a picture? Right. So as you can see, we find ourselves in the news very often on many, many people trying to create awareness by trying to evoke reactions or saying that I need change right now. And the question is, how effective is this? And more importantly, as we see in this picture, that it's all about change, climate change, we need to make a difference. Maybe let's take a step back and ask ourselves, what is sustainability? What is all this sustainability movement about? So there are many definitions going on. I'm also a lawyer by training, so definitions work very well for me. Uh, so it's amazing to see so many different definitions. And I like the one from the UN best because I think it's simple and easy to understand. So sustainability, let's just all be on the same grounding, is about meeting our current needs without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their needs. I think it's a very simple message. We use what we need, not what we want, just so that that's enough for the future, so they can continue to have this wonderful life that we have. And with this aspiration, we see different groups of people trying to make changes. So over here, I think we see people protesting on you know awareness now, or climate justice. But how effective is this? I was in London visiting my brother last year, and there was a strike by the train workers, and apparently it's quite common in London. And the reaction from the common ground who are not train workers was, it's a hassle. And I asked my brother, so what is the conclusion of this after today's strike? And he said, oh, we probably get some of the things that they want, they probably don't, and then there'll be more strikes ahead. So it's more like, how do we live our lives going around these protests rather than actually listening to what they're on strike for? How effective is this? In contrast, this is me in Cambodia, in a primary school in Cambodia. So I was there earlier, actually helping to build water filters for the villagers, for the families of the children here, and we went on to teach them to have proper water hygiene, brushing teeth, and the need to have using water. We're encouraging them to use water, actually, not use less water, but to actually use water so that for their well-being. And this project has been ongoing for actually 20 years. So it's not just a one-time mission. So it's something that is actually organized by SIF, where they, every year, about 6 to 8 times a year, they will go down to different parts of, this is in Siem Reap, so they started in Siem Reap, and they actually plan to make real changes over there by hardworkingly making changes, real changes, like installing water filters for them, going to every school to teach them how to use it. And actually, the water filters last for 10 years. So I was part of when I was there, I actually helped to replace the water filters built 100% out of cement. I was shoveling cement to build this over 100 kg kind of biofilters. And so we see the progression. We see that their lives got better after it. We actually went to interview the villagers. We actually see that their lives has gotten better. These little children, over 10 years, have grown up and formed families of their own, and they are very grateful for what SIF has done for them, and they have gone to make further changes themselves. So we see that ripple effect, not without having to, pick up a slogan that says like, stop this, I disagree with this, I want this. They are silently taking action to make changes. So with these two different types of movements, we ask ourselves, maybe the way we think of movements is maybe old-fashioned. It's no longer about trying to force immediate change, but rather change can be effective when well thought out, well planned, and we see the gradual changes towards it. So really, I like this. Today's topic is about sustainability and how do you create that movement. And really, there are four main ways of coming out with this plan. And throughout today, we will hear from different speakers on how to do so. This very first one is about seeding a cause. And to me, this is probably the biggest difference from what you see in this picture and the one before. That they came together knowing what is the purpose of the change that they're trying to make. And when they come together, they came out with a plan, like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to build water filters. We're going to monitor them. We're going to make sure that the quality of life for the villagers, for these villages, will improve over time. And they've proven that without having to shock people and forcing people to change. I'm sorry. So what we have here is, first, we see the cause, and secondly, we need to shape that vision. And today, you will hear from various people on how to shape a vision. It's not just a big, grand idea. So yes, it can come from the government level, like say the Singapore Green Plan, or as what we have heard just now from the Deputy Chief Secretary, where you can have the Sarawak Plan as well. But it goes down to the organizations and to individuals. So what we have here is that we must remember this. Sustainability issues affect everyone. But sometimes we forget that it doesn't affect everyone equally. And that is very important, because what affects you and what you need to see changes made now may be different from mine. And therefore, we see a certain conflict where, okay, you're having this protest on or maybe we need to save the trees and the biodiversity, maybe in Africa. But here right now, I'm trying to keep my business going. It's really hard for me to take a step back and save that tree. However, if you connect it to something that I really do care about, like what I've lived through my experiences, that having a future for my kids are important, whether in another 50 years' time, does Singapore still exist, or yes, sunken below under sea level, that my children don't even have a country to live in? I would be concerned. I mean, I would link my business to that of the future of where my children can survive. And so by linking these, we can see that maybe to you, we can just balance out what is important to you and to me, and we see that common ground, and this is where we can work together. So here are just very common headlines that is probably familiar to many of you, from the collapse of the FTX, and of course the unfortunate project of Sun Cable, which gladly is being revived, and of course the notorious high flux from Singapore. But we also have from the international, and in every industry, we have things on greenwashing from H&M, of course the recent news on Credit Suisse, as well as even airlines. It affects all of us on why it is important to consider what is at heart at issue with you and me. And where that matters, we need to create a certain culture of trust, that when we put together our cause and our vision, we are all working together towards it. It's not like you care about your area, I care about my area. There's this certain level of distrust that we only care for our own concerns. But actually, we should all work together, where all our needs are taken care of, our concerns are taken care of to avoid situations like this. I think that if they recognize a certain ecosystem, that I don't want to just hear that you are asking me to buy carbon credits so that when I fly, it's considered more green. No, I care about the airspace as much as the airlines, and I care about the clothes that I wear as much as what the fashion industry thinks that just slapping on a green label is good enough for me. So together, we feel that this circle of trust is more important so that we can work together as a team, regardless of which industry you're from. And along with this, we have to think about the idea of pivoting and having a growth mindset. I think a lot of the problems that we see over here, I don't have inside knowledge of these companies, but clearly, as we move forward into the future, as we think about sustainability as a theme, we have to ask ourselves, are we ready to change? Are we ready to make that change? Or we will definitely face a certain, I wouldn't say like certain doomed conclusion, but rather I think as we continue to evolve and recognize that changes are needed, we shouldn't be fearful of the unknown, but rather we should see change as opportunity for growth, opportunity for more businesses and profitability. So here I ask everyone to rise to the challenge. As we work together to solve sustainability issues that definitely affect you and I together, you have 4 easy things to remember. First, we need to remember that we need to have representation from all stakeholders, from internal and external, from our employees to our customers, to our suppliers, our partners. We mustn't forget that everyone has an interest in this. So, for example, I think using Unilever as an example, they have the program of Sustainable Living Entrepreneurial Award, where it isn't just open to their internal people, but they encourage external parties to bring forth ideas on how they can do better, and they will fund that. So it's not something that we feel that we can only do it within ourselves and expect others to just follow our dream, but maybe we can actually call others to arm and say, let's work together for this, right? And as we move on, we can once we find our stakeholders, then we move on to identify the material issues that all of us may care about. So say in the industry of, say, the food industries like McDonald's or Starbucks, Nespresso, they care about sustainable farming methods and sourcing. So these groups do come together and see themselves to work together to change the farming industry rather than as a competition where I'll be the first to change so that the rest will be left behind. It is not a competition. It's about changing the industry together. So once we have these material issues at hand, next, we should shape all these action plans together. That's where we come out with real concrete action. We don't just want to talk. We want to really say, okay, maybe we should now bind together, have an R&D, and teach the farmers these new farming methods. We can't force them to change this way. Again, it's no different from picking up some slogan and say, stop this now. If you're not going to change, we're going to cut off our business ties with you. We're not doing that. We need to change the entire ecosystem. So we work with everyone up and downstream from where we are. So and with that, we must always evaluate on how things work. Just like from young, we have that report book that we have at the end of every year. We need to make sure that whatever that we are trying to do now has a positive effect. So I know that right now there's a whole types of standards that's confusing to many, the GRI, TCFD, and all that. But all these, we are all trying to achieve the same purpose, that we don't want all that greenwashing that we've seen earlier in those reports. We don't want to just seem like we're doing something good. Actually, we're making the place worse. So reporting, with all its bad reputation, has its place in evaluating our impacts. But we shouldn't just stop there. It's not saying that if you have a good report card, a good score, means that you're doing great. But sometimes we can actually see the effects of what we are doing as a company, as individuals, through the actual effects. So as we see, and TSG has presented in many of its initiatives, you can actually see the changes in Sarawak, right? Like with Saradise and all that, we can really see the impact it has on its people. And from there, you can really gain that satisfaction and know that you are making a difference. So with that, I implore all of you to join me in coming up with this change movement, not just for your country, not just for your industry, but for your organization and for yourself. And going forward, we will have definitely a more beautiful world ahead. Thank you.